Poland's last chance for the season finals is currently setting up on the stage as he looks to also play against China's last chance to have a player represented at the season finals. Joining me on the desk this time is Sam and Jared. A big match for both sides here when you look at it at that angle. Poland failed last night, unfortunately. A laser, no! A laser, no! A laser was eliminated by Hitman, and now all the hopes of having a Polish player play at the season finals is on the shoulders of Mana here, Jared.
Yeah, I'm sure Mana feels the pressure, probably more so from himself, because he's a player who just demands perfection. And he's been at the very top before. He's had a great couple of years since 2012 as well, and he always wants to go through and go deep. And I think he was a bit disappointed with his run last season. I think he felt he should have made it out of that group. And I think tonight he's going to look to rectify that and say, look, I'm still the boss. I want to play in front of Poland, man. I want to be in front of that crowd. I want to hold the flag up and show what I'm made of.
And here is the road that he has to take. Mana versus Shigua is the second match of the evening. The winner must go up against TLO. Violet is patiently waiting for his second shot in this group, and of course will play against the loser from this next match in our third game of the evening. But let's talk a little bit more about this matchup, and especially talking about Mana. You've already brought it up that this is a great opportunity for him, but Mana is such a talent. I always look at his stats and I'm like, how is he still 21 years old? How is he 21? How is he 21? He's been around forever.
Exactly, that's my thoughts as well. I was like, really? I'm older than this guy? He's really been around for forever, since DreamHack 2010 days. So he's definitely an experienced player. I don't think the nerves will affect him too much, but he does have a lot riding on this tournament. He said after it was actually announced it was going to be in Poland, the round of 16 that is, that he was shaking, he was that excited. So the fact that he's now got to play for that spot, I really hope it doesn't affect him.
I remember the last time Mana had the opportunity to play in front of a big Polish crowd was a couple of years ago when he actually faced Tilo in a quarter-final match, I think it was, or a round of 12 match in front of the Katowice audience where Tilo was able to take it out, and the fans went wild seeing Mana play up there, and that's what we're probably expecting to have happen in the season finals as well.
Yeah, he's been playing for such a long time and getting, better and better and more experience. And stylistically as a player, Mana's really interesting because he's such a dogged competitor. Sometimes you can look at him and you can say, well, technically in this matchup, how he's been playing, he's not the favorite. But no matter what situation he gets into, he will always fight till his last breath. And I've seen him tear himself out of many a dire situation just through never giving up and always looking for the little ways where he can put his opponent on pressure and kind of push his opponent off balance. He's one of these guys who you can never count him out wherever the game's at.
And his opponent, who will go under that pressure, is going to be Shigua, who returns back to the World Championship Series, returns back to the Premier League, who was absent last season, and now joins us in Europe for the first time here. It's his first time playing in Cologne, Germany. And he comes in today as the veteran of almost the entire of the round of 32. The oldest player comes in at 28 years old, Sam.
Yeah, and so he actually has been around forever, and he is that old as well. So it's good to see him still going, and it's good to see him still performing. But can he be the Chinese representative that we all need? Because as we've saw already, that the Chinese aren't having too good of a time so far.
Yeah, every one of them, we've had one in each group this week. Every single one has been eliminated. Shigua is the last hope there. And of course, just like Mana, has that weight.
Yeah. And of course, you got to get your monitor settings just right when you're up there. But yeah, I mean, speaking a little bit more about the matchup between these two guys, you got to look at Shigua as a player it's a little bit hard to research, even if you're looking through the Chinese VODs. He hasn't been playing too many important televised matches in the Chinese scene recently against Protoss players. So Mana's going to be looking at him and thinking, this guy's a bit of an enigma. I've seen him in the past play some wildly aggressive styles, but I mean, if you go back far enough, you see Shigua is this guy who's just very good at kind of massing out units and playing these very mid-tier styles. And I think that actually matches up very well against Mana, because Mana, he's a bit of a trickster Protoss himself. And I think as a Zerg player, you want to stay on that kind of mid-tier and really try and thrive there. Knock back his third base. Don't let Mana get to any sort of big ball.
Yeah, it's funny because Mana's really changed his style over the year or so since that Swarm Host nerf, because I think it was season 1, maybe, when Mana played Firecake. That was really the changing point for his PVZ, in my opinion. He was very vocal about how much he disliked the matchup, and he's really took a different direction as of late. He's more of an aggressive style to the passive player that he used to be. So going up against Jaguar, it's going to be very interesting to see how he chooses his builds and how he chooses to play out the maps that he's chosen.
Well, we do have the maps ready for you guys. The players are just setting up the last couple of things needed before going to battle. But we have the 3 maps that are going to come up now on the screen. The 3 maps that we're going to be playing on is Terraform, Coda, and Cactus Valley. As experts from either side of the race here, Zerg and Protoss, what's the looking like?
Well, from the Zerg perspective, of course, Jigua's vetoed Dash and Terminal and Moonlight Madness. So interesting, looking like he wants to get some of the crazier maps out of the way. And of course, Terraform was Mana's pick, but Jigua picked Coda, map 2, a very standard map layout. And he's also left Cactus Valley in there. So it looks like Jigua, I think, is looking to play more of a defensive style or reactive at least. So probably something quite standard out of him.
And what can you read from Terraform there being Mana's pick? You've known him for a long time. You've had a couple of drinks with him in a home story cup. You've talked Protoss about and with him. What do you think he's got planned here for us?
I think he's going to come out with kind of a bit of an explosive strategy on Terraform. I don't feel like too many Protoss players feel too comfortable playing macro games as of late. I'm not sure what it is. Maybe it's just the way that the third base is kind of situated on this map. But I feel like he's going to come out with a bang, and I'm thinking some 2-base aggression.
All right, thank you very much, gentlemen. Final thoughts then before jumping into this. We'll go to the predictions this time. Now you two are back on. You've been doing well, but now spotlight is on. Who's winning this one? Who's going to the winners match to play TLO?
You know, I really feel like I said, Man is a player who he's got that fire in him and he doesn't give up. And when he's got something to fight for, like performing at the season finals in Poland, in his home country, I think he's going to come out and just fight fierce no matter how the build orders go. So I think he's going to take it with a 2-1 victory.
I'm going to agree with that. I feel like Mana's definitely got that fire in him, and I think probably a 2-1 as well.
All right, thank you very much, gentlemen. It's time to head to the commentary team for this one. Which country is moving forward for that chance to represent their country? It's only these 2 left to represent them. Who's it going to be?
That's right, and I'm sure a lot of Polish fans out there are hoping it's going to be Mana, of course, coming back, basically going home, and then we'll be hoping to play in front of that live Polish crowd. Mana certainly has quite a bit of weight on his shoulders because, in the end, sometimes it's hot, sometimes it's cold when it comes to these kind of round of 32 games.
Yeah, and we don't like it when it's too hot, do we?
No.
Yesterday, actually, these poor Polish fans, they had to go through the heartbreak of watching Elaser go through the most excruciating pain when he faced Hitman in that final series. And to them, pretty sure they'd love to see the national hero Mana qualify here. But going up against Sigua is definitely going to prove tricky in even adopting any style or going into this match with some sort of a plan. Like a lot of Protosses, they would probably be like, well, he's very aggressive and all that. Let's just try to play a standard game and kind of, defense, whatever he's going to throw at me. But we'll see if Mana chooses to do that or not.
Let's get in. Game number 1, spawning up to the top left-hand corner, we have our blue Protoss. Representing Team Liquid, it is Mana. And then down to the bottom right here of Terraform, as Mana spams away, we do have our red Zerg all the way from China. Whoop. It is Shikwa.
Where's that funny?
These early game pauses, man.
Yeah.
But anyway.
There's been too many of them. No. It's time to enforce the Kespa rules, maybe.
Oh, he is just sorting out hotkeys apparently here by the looks of things. So as Sean well highlighted on the desk, one of these players would love to get there to that finals in Poland to be able to represent the country. Shigua is our last remaining Chinese player to actually try and represent. And to be fair to the guy, he has done very well in WCS in the past, but last season for him was not where he wanted to be. He got knocked out in Challenger after 4 back-to-back seasons of Premier.
Yeah.
Now's his opportunity to get back on up there.
The Chinese players, actually, they've been struggling quite a bit in that season, or even like in the last one, not been doing nearly as well as they used to, with guys like Jim being contenders to go very far back in the WCS America days when there was the split between Europe and America. But ever since both of them have been combined, it's been pretty tough for them to put on the same results.
All right, and we are back on into this game as Mana's going to start things with a pylon up his ramp already. So looking for probably a gateway opener here is Mana.
Yeah, I was talking a little bit about how I think Mana might want to go into this match here. And on one hand, Mana is somebody who's really learned over the years to mix up his builds a lot more than he used to. Really do a lot of different things, throwing a bunch of cheeses. But now he's up against a player who, as we said, loves to at times either all in or play very aggressive just in general. No matter what Shigwa is going for, no matter what composition, if it's Roaches, Hydralisk or Mutas, he's almost always going to be attacking. So if you're Mana in this situation, one good thing you can do is go up to 2 bases, go up to 3 bases, get a lot of Blink Stalkers and make sure you defend everything that's being thrown at you. If you defend successfully the first 2 attacks, you're going to be in a fantastic position to just kind of max out and finish the game.
Look how keen Shigwa was to get over here and see exactly what Mana was up to. So just maybe a little bit scared as to what his opponent could bring here. Maybe doesn't know fully exactly what to expect from someone like Mana. So getting over there to spot what is going on, not too bad.
He might have been thinking about hatch blocking if he had scouted something like a gateway with no gas. Usually you want to go for an Nexus quickly behind it. And in this case, didn't need to against the standard gateway opener plus a gas. Taking the information this early on is going to be great for Shigwa, and usually against this, you want to get an extractor early on so that you can get speed pretty quickly and shut down any kind of gateway aggression. But if you get gas and choose to defend with this, there's going to be ways Protoss can try and exploit that, because usually Protoss players, they're going to know whether or not there is a gas. But in this case, Mana actually stayed out on the map and never checked those gases in the main of Shigwa here. So he's not going to know.
Yeah, maybe he wants to poke in later on to see if there was an earlier 3rd base going down, and that might dictate his options later on. With this probe just sticking around up towards the top right-hand side here, in the bushes, sneaky little guy. So, up next is going to go down behind it, though. Oop, repositioned.
Shigwa choosing to skip on an extractor here. That's very, very unusual. Against a gateway like this, you should be quite worried about any kind of aggression. You know, Zealot, Stalker, Mothership Core into like a 4-gate is something that we've seen at time, and I do think can be really hard to hold both ways, whether you go gas and you have a lot of link speed, or if you get quite a few quints and then choose to get slow links plus a lot of quints, which in this case looks like might be the choice here by Shigwa.
And let's see if these lings are able to clear out this probe in this bush. Should, in theory, be able to see him. This will be very, very close. The line of sight blockers in the bushes can oftentimes mess around, and does manage to end up spotting that, so all is good.
Alles good. This is pretty huge, actually. Being able to find this here, there's going to be a kill on that probe, but not before Mana confirms the 3rd hatchery here. Which in this case, I'm not sure he might be able to deduce that there was no gas taken yet. I think Mana is just going to safely wall back at home, make sure he's fine against anything that could be thrown at him. He's already got a Zealot, now he's got a Sentry as well. And from there, usually you just go into a Forge, because you see Mana's getting Sentries. This really hints that he might want to take a 3rd base or do an 8 gates. It's always extremes when you go for Sentries like this.
Yeah, and with that, I mean, only now gas is just being taken here by Shigwa. He was droning up. He got 10 drones in his previous shuffle along. And now the Zerglings just going to poke towards the front here to try and get confirmation of what's going on.
I really like this move out by Mana, because, he gets his target behind this, but the Link sneaked in.
Yeah, and that the Sentry might even have to do something desperate to deny, like, well, no, it's taking too much damage. Didn't sneak
Mana,
around.
it's going to be a 3-gateway Zealot aggression, and then behind this he's going to be trying to do more and more damage here. Not quite sure I can say out loud, because maybe the headsets
let's wait for a moment here
come off
while these players looking to get ready to go. Mana already threw out the go question mark, and now it looks like we are back into the game. So let's jump back in this moment, as we do have already, as you said, the pylon going down. So the 3-gate potential aggression towards a 3rd base here. With the lack of gas and the lack of even a Roach warren down just yet, units are already warping in here, Todd.
Yeah, Shigwa could be in a lot of trouble here. It's actually going to be Stalkers, which means that Mana can kite. Shigwa, the thing is, even if he defends this, which is already going to be hardy on the ground, there's going to be an oracle here being made in a
Yeah.
second that's going to flag across the map. And surely right now, the last thing he's thinking about when facing these stalkers in this 3 gateway is getting a spore. So Shigwa could be in a lot of trouble here already early on in this game.
And managed to spot the Stargate be all the way towards the back, but he's going to get himself an Overlord for free already. That's going to supply block him.
Wow.
Drones get pulled away, and already it's going to be, yes, a lot of Zerglings, but without speed, it's so difficult to shut down this kind of Protoss attack.
Yeah, Mana might be able to get this hatchery here. Shigwa is going to struggle to really stay in this. And if the oracle flies into his main, Shigwa is going to lose so many more drones as well. He's already lost 2.
And he had some of those Zerglings on move command. They didn't even do any damage to this Protoss army. This third base is almost certainly going to fall. Yes, he'll get the pylon towards the left-hand side,
And
but
Mana can just recall. That's the beautiful thing here about this for him. He can just recall here if he's in trouble. Your first oracle is going to fly in.
another pylon as well, so he can continue to do this if he wants to. This is quite brutal here to start things off for Shigwa.
There is no spore on the way, but this is so late. There's going to be roaches for Shigwa to help him defend this, but Mana is still in there trying to do as much damage as possible before he might finally have to recall, but does he even need to?
He's just going to walk on back for now here. The Oracle got himself a few drone kills and looks like doesn't even need to recall. Just going to walk away from this.
Behind this, Mana is doing really well macro-wise as well. He's kept on making probes the whole time. He's saturating gases on his natural. Wouldn't be surprised to see a robo starting here, and then he can very easily go into the third base if he wants to.
Time to get out of there.
It's a very good choice to get a Void Ray, by the way, against this many roaches. Like, Zerg will definitely be getting desperate and trying to do some damage of their own, and one single Void Ray is really going to shut this down. Shigwa is not even restarting a third base. He's going to do something desperate instead and get the gold base here. But I think Mana, he's just so far ahead. If he was to drop down 4 more gates and went for a 7 gate with like 2 or 3 Void Rays, he can just close out this game. But I'm not sure he plans to. Drop down the Twilight Council.
Yeah, looks like it's just going to be the +2 and Blink eventually after this +1 is finished up. He could even try and go for a third base with this little force he's got.
To be honest, if Mana sent his Mothership Core +1 Void Ray on that gold base, he gets a cancel on it.
Yeah, that's true.
Because Lair's not even finished yet, even though it's about to.
No ways to get any kind of anti-air over there that quickly. And there's the third base going down. Mana's just going to start walling off small chunks of this. And then from that point on, I mean, what does Shigwa really have to do to punish? There has to be some way, but I don't think he can find any.
Yeah, I think all he can do is kind of turtle and hope that Mana makes a bad attack here and there. Playing aggressive here for Shigwa while being so far behind would just mean he gets force fielded and loses a lot of units and then proceeds on losing the game.
Yeah. Good start by Mana, good aggression, and will it lead into a strong macro focus here from him across these 3 base? I mean, +2, Blink, with the Robo facility about to finish up as well.
Look at how many minerals and gas Shigwa has here. He made a bunch of overlords in advance. He's going to be starting a lot of Hydralisks. I think he wants to make sure that his third base is going to be safe, but Mana's about to hit it. He's got a whole bunch of force fields, and he has a recall as well to work with. So there is a chance he snipes this base and then recalls out, and Shigwa is just going to be on 2 base against 3 then.
He could definitely lock out those units and get this hatchery if he plays this smart. He's got a lot of force fields available to him, that's for sure. He's going to try and wall that off and not let any of these roaches through at all. Moving his Mothership Core to be able to recall out, gets himself the base, loses a sentry, but that was well worth it.
This is depressing for Shigwa at this point here. Losing this base, losing 3 drones as well. He's going to fall to 51 drones to 53 probes. And remember, the Protoss already going to be saturated here on 3 bases. Immortal production starts, and with Blink and +2 on the way, Mana knows that right now he's just so far ahead. All he has to do is just keep on massing Stalkers and then hit the timing when he has Blink if he wants to finish this. And Shigwa is just in so much trouble.
I mean, everything Shigwa is doing behind this, with his +1 weapons, his roach speed, his infestation pit especially, of such a low income, is very, very difficult here for a Zerg.
Absolutely. I'm not sure. I think he might have wanted to try and go for Vipers desperately, but with his economy taking such a hit, like right now, income-wise, Shigwa is on 1,400 against 1,700. This is not really where Zerg's supposed to be at here right now. Quite the opposite. Hive is going to start, but look at this. Mana already moving out here because he knows that Blink's about to finish. And he's got enough gates with the ones that he added at the third base to really produce a lot of units and try and finish this, I think.
Yeah, he's going to be in a really good spot, especially since he'll have some Immortals on tow to actually help out there as well. Uses Revelation actually on this army, keeping good eyes on it here as he blinks forwards aggressively into those Roach Hydra. Not exactly something that's kind of a defensive move. He just wants to really, really power down this location at the moment. Technically, army supply is in favor of Shigwa here, after these Stalkers are going to have to blink back furiously against this kind of army. I think that Immortal is doing quite a lot of damage towards those roaches at the front, but that's going to fall as well. It's all on the blink Stalkers now here for Mana. Did he move out a little bit early?
No, he jumped into it too furiously here. I think that's the big problem. Usually you're not supposed to blink forward like this with Stalkers. You just force field, you blink back everything that's getting injured, and you make sure that you have a lot of Guardian Shields and to work with further into the fight, as well as force fields.
He doesn't even have a pylon towards the front, so he's warping everything at his main base, and then
bad.
it's walking.
Not sure what Mana's up to here. This was supposed to go a lot better here for him. But Shigwa is overstepping here a little bit in that position.
Yeah, if those three Hydralisks, actually they already get the Void Ray, so never mind that. If they'd have got the Hydras before the Void Ray had died off, then that would have been fantastic for Mana. But for now, he's got a lot of Blink Stalkers anyway. Once again, gonna look to put power onto this location. That Immortal is gonna be focused down here, so Shigwa is doing really, really well to hold on against this.
Yeah, Mana, he really overextended there. He made a Warp Prism to try and reinforce in that position, and now adding on even additional gateways here in his main. He's going to be pumping out quite a few units, but Shigwa here being on 3 hatcheries, starting to get Vipers, and he's got +2 about to finish as well. I think he's got enough Roaches and Hydras to deal with this here, especially since there is no sentries. So Mana re-warps a bunch, but they're going to take a long time to build up on energy.
Needs to just be cost effective with these Blink Stalkers. Has to cancel the pylon and back off. Warped in a lot of sentries to throw on force fields for this engagement. And
the Prism for the main here, this is really smart, because the main is so far away from the third base, it's going to be really hard for Shigwa to split immediately and go there and defend.
Especially with how much of a foresight he has on it, which is nothing at the moment. Going into Mana's vision now, he's controlling this army up towards the top, still sending that Warp Prism into the main base, trying to catch some of these units off as Shigwa oversteps the mark a little bit, and those Zealots will start to work on in the main base. He's even warping a few in there while the fight towards the back is going on, blinking back some of these Stalkers individually. He knows that that's quite a strong army though, so he has to get out of there.
Yeah, the Hive is getting targeted here. Everything that's in the main is going to be in trouble, and it's Lynx coming out of this hatchery here in a second, as well as one single roach. So these Zealots, they're going to have a field day here, even though they don't have charge. They're going to have +2 to work with. Mana did start +3 here earlier.
Got the Hive,
Wow.
Picks up a few of those, gets on out of there. And that's...
No, too far. One single Swarmos will start here in Desperation. Not quite the right patch for that.
The token swarm host that we see in our couple of seasons of WCS, whenever any Zerg randomly presses that button. And for now, you will see just more Zealots warping in over here.
Because Mana's going to High Templar. She knows that if he gets Storm, this game is over. So that's what he's going to be trying to get. Those Vipers! Ooh, that was very exposed. He needs to force field here to buy some time, maybe?
Yeah, needs to trap these units out here while he's actually going to push on forwards against this. Of course, Yigua here kind of really putting all his hopes on this one attack at the moment, as this army is trying to get back there. The Zealots are still harassing towards the main base, and
there's still one up through. Oh, gets feedback here.
Tries to kill off those Vipers, or at least stop them from actually doing too much at all. Still, so many Stalkers. I'm not sure this Roach Hydra is going to be able to do anything. The Zealots are still in the mineral line towards that base, and they are denying so much income.
Yeah, and Mana's defended back at home. I think he's finally done. It's almost threw it away here with that attack on the gold base, but now with the damage that he's done, he's going to find himself so far ahead, 66 probes to 35 drones, and Shigwa in a world of trouble here. There's already a Warp Prism across the map. He lost the hatchery in his main and never remade it. Shigwa is down to his last very few units there, and Mana having +3 here, it's going to be massive. His units are going to be doing so much damage.
Yeah, even a Storm if he really wants to get a few High Templars into the battle, but he doesn't even need that at the moment. He has 76 army supply against 64, and he's just going to swing on around here, put pressure onto this gold base, and from that point on, Shigwa has very, very little left.
Yeah, he's trying to evacuate with the drones here. I don't think he realizes that he's got 2 hatchery on the map right now, and only one of those is saturated right now at the minerals. Shigwa. Just, he's going to have to come to terms, I guess, with the result here in this first map, which was not in his favor.
Yeah, almost a resounding victory at the moment for Mana. The Abduct is good, though. Gets himself on one of those Immortals. Second one almost ties off at the front. He wanted to try and go back in against it and try and focus it down, but he can't even reach it. GG. Game number 1 goes to Mana after a bit of a strange tussle there in the mid-game, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it looked very, very convincing. And then all of a sudden, overextended quite a bit, but then behind is solid enough to make sure he could recover. Was still in a fantastic economic position. And I have to say, this aggression, it's interesting because I talked about how Shigwa was supposed to be the aggressive one, but Mana definitely played his race properly here. He was like, well, I can be aggressive as well. I play Protoss. It's a pretty good race to warp units across the map, flying an Oracle and do a bunch of damage. And in the end, the micro and decision making early on was pretty close to flawless, I think, for Mana. It's really that first overextension that put him in a little bit of danger.
Yeah, lost far more Stalkers than he would have needed to in that position. And also, you know, with that overextension, not having a pylon to be able to warp in right there and then to reinforce it kind of escalated the problem a little bit further. So, but for now, you know, a win is a win here for Mana. And we are going to go to a short break before we go into game number 2 between Liquid Mana and Shigua. Welcome back to the World Championship Series here for Series 2 of the night, as at the moment Liquid Mana is 1 game up against Invictus Gaming's Shigua. And what does Shigua really need to do here to be able to kind of buckle down? Because we're seeing that aggressive style start things out here from Mana, and then on a map like Coda here, how can Shigua play this out?
Well, he needs to scout, first of all, because not seeing the Stargates or even the 3 gateways that were headed his way. Like, there is a few ways you can see this, you know. If he had, say, a bunch of links or overlords in the right position, saw a pylon go down, he would have been able to start making units a lot earlier. And from when you lose that 3rd hatchery onwards, you're already going to be in so much trouble here as a Zerg, assuming Protoss built up their economy properly behind this, which Mana definitely did. He made a lot of probes, saturated the both gases on his natural, and was just in a fantastic position from there.
All right, well, we're getting into it. Game at number 2. As Mana goes up against Shigua once again here. Let's see who is moving on to the winners match. Will it be an all-team Liquid winners match? We will soon find out as we have spawning. To the right-hand side, it is our blue Protoss representing Team Liquid. It is Mana. Been here a lot in Cologne. We've seen him quite a few times. And up to the top left-hand corner, someone who hasn't been here as much, representing Invictus Gaming, it is Shigua.
Yeah, Shigua he's going to have to do much better than this if he wants to have any success here in this group, because I have to say that was very surprising how he did not see this aggression coming at all. Like the Oracle, okay, sure, like you don't always send an overload in, and even if you do, there can be a Stalker that denies that, but not seeing a pylon going down close to his 3rd base, that's unforgivable. And he definitely did not get forgiven.
Yep, he took a lot of damage to it, having no response really whatsoever, in place at least. But Gateway at the front here for Mana already sends his probe out.
We've seen Lilbo actually go for this at times, this kind of wall here with a gateway down the ramp into a Nexus. But in this case, Shigua again going for the same scout. Might actually go for a hatch block this time if he wants to. Even though it looks like he might just take his natural. And usually when this happens here, if the Zerg is way too greedy, like starts to pull a little bit too late, or like just kind of late in general, or even goes for another hatch before the pull, then you can get a Zealot and really apply some good pressure, send it towards the main, try to kill some drones, prevent them from mining. We'll see what Mana chooses.
Probe comes in, just starts working on the close patches so that he can disrupt a little bit of that whilst, well, there's already disruption going on down here. But with 2 probes there, can clean this up pretty quickly normally and gets that Nexus down without losing too much opportunity cost on his minerals.
Yeah, Mana, I think he's going to be happy to head on home here really soon. Just going to make sure that there was no other hatchery that's was started behind this. He might just double check the main to make sure there is no gas started yet. Actually going to get one of his gases stolen here, which, as much as it's not the end of the world, because the Nexus on the natural was blocked for some time. If he was to take one of the gases on his natural, the Nexus is going to take a long time to finish. So the 2 gas income that you need as Protoss in this situation, definitely going to be delayed a little bit. So a nice move by Shigua.
All right, well, this drone actually decided to end up keeping itself alive and getting on out of there. Shigua preferring to have a little bit more information at the front and then probably try and get on home for the most part.
Yeah, I really like that Mana. He double-checked the main, saw that there was no gas there, and he was like, well, you might be starting to take another hatchery here in a second, so I'm just going to try and stay there and block it for a little bit longer. Stays on that third base and sees that nothing's being started. Remember, he's playing against a player that has a pretty aggressive image. You're going to want to double-check as much as possible, pretty much everything. Mana checks that other location, sees no hatchery there.
And now he's going to be a bit fearful.
Whoa. Why is there a probe of Mana going towards the third base here? That was misrallied, I guess.
I guess so.
Looked like he wanted to start another Nexus, which really wouldn't have made sense here.
This probe has been sneaky. He's been able to wiggle his way on around here, past these 4 Zerglings in total, and manages to spot the third base very quickly.
He might try to keep people on the map here, his Mana, because I think he realizes, as I said that, of course, he's going to suicide it, but I think he realized that there was no speed on the way anytime soon, because he saw that there was no gas earlier, and Mana went for a very fast Mothership Core and Stalker as well. So if he wanted to go for, say, something like a 3 or 4 gate, or even the same kind of aggression as last game, he could do that. Look at this, Sentry starts behind this. The Sentry is the unit that's going to be staying back at home usually, and you move across the map with Zealot, Stalker, and Mothership Core, and then you proxy pylons. And remember, on this map, you can even get some pylons towards the right-hand side, kind of hidden up those ramps here. And we have, I guess, the safety number 2 probe hidden there now for Mana. Does he go for a Stargate behind this, though, again? So far, not.
Yeah, with these 2 gateways just about to finish up here, maybe applying a little bit of pressure wouldn't be too bad towards that third base. It worked wonders in the previous game with only 6 Zerglings on the way. The Roach Warren started again here, but maybe it's a little bit late. There's more Zerglings in production than there was before when this initial thing hit, but...
It's so cool, I think, by Mana not to make a Stargate here because of what happened last game. Imagine if Shigua was to get spores this game, then there's no Stargate. He made them for absolutely nothing. So I think he's playing a little bit of a mind game here.
Oh, and you're going to have to deal with these Zerglings, as that Zealot would ideally like to...
Even back at home.
Keep yourself alive, but a good surround. And then the Zerglings over here do get cleaned up.
Yeah, good defense by Mana here so far. He hasn't started warping in here. His gateways being morphed just now into warp gates. He's gonna go for Stalkers. I think he realizes that there's no speed on the way, or rather, he's on the way, but nowhere close to finishing.
Got to start trading. Got to do something, some damage here and there. Starts working on this Queen. If we could get that, that would be a nice pickup to start things.
He's even gonna get some drones.
And Shigua, not looking too phased by this initial assault. As if he does lose his third, though, that would certainly be a big detriment to him. His Queens are on the way. So are the Roaches here. Are there any more Stalkers warping in? It's actually a round of Zealots this time.
Yeah, I think Mana realized that there was going to be quite a few links that he's going to have to deal with here very soon. He might just kill that hatchery and then recall.
Yeah.
If he was to do that, it'd be a great move. But he sees that there is a lot of units on the ground and he's going to lose everything if he goes for that.
The Queen actually shot the hatchery there momentarily as Mana just backs off a little bit. He's got +1/1 on the way. Not exactly spotted, though, by Shigua.
Quite a few probes stuck at the natural area of Mana at his wall with the sentry. I think I don't know where he wanted to send those.
Not sure either, but... Still, the Stalkers continue on. Speed is not done here just yet for the Zerglings, but it's about to finish up. And, well, he's got to be very careful now. It must be recall time. Get on out of there. So he doesn't lose the third. This is a much better start here for Shigua.
Yeah. Lair is very, very late, though. This is very worrying. Lair is halfway through done, as is +1 here for Mana. Behind this, wouldn't be surprised if he went into a third base, dropped down a Robo, and then started a Twilight Council as well for the Blink. I like Mana's position quite a bit here. 50 probes to 49 drones. He's got a bunch of sentries that have been building up on energy for some time. Like he had 2 initially, started warping in some more now. And I really like that Mana didn't overcommit with the pylons across the map. You know, some Protosses, they get like 3, 4, and then they end up losing all of them as the aggression finishes. Not mana, he made a single one, so that's all that's gonna die behind the initial aggression.
Trying to spot what's going on as well. Sees that Roach Worm whirring away, so may anticipate the fact that this layer has only recently been like fully completed here so that he can transition on.
And Robo is going down now. I think Mana knows that he needs to make sure he doesn't die to something like burrowed roaches, especially if he wants to be aggressive further down the road here in this game.
If Mana is kind of going to go down the standard +2 blink timing again here with maybe some Immortals or something like that.
Don't blink forward this time.
Yeah, exactly. Just be a little bit more patient with it.
Yeah.
That's the most important thing, because you can get really great trades off with just blink stalkers alone, actually.
Yeah, he's gonna spot the Spire with this. I think he might. He's gonna fly on top of the natural here in a second. And nobody gets a Spore Spine in his corner. Mana's even checking, and he knows. He already knows. From this point onwards, usually you just warp in a lot of Blink Stalkers and then you try to play pretty aggressively, but now Blink and +2 are not that close to he's gonna drop it down the Stargate. That's the other route. That's the Roddy routes here that you can go into.
It's quite the commitment as well. Already start trying to bank up those Phoenix and get as many out as possible, and then you've got to think about, well, is my opponent really committing to the Spire? Do I need a Fleet Beacon to deal with this?
What do you know, man? Roddy is all about that commitment.
Yeah, true.
Who would have thought?
And tons of Zerglings on the way now as well here.
Oh, this is really smart. I think Mana realizing that there is no Hydra, he's trying to move around the map knowing that this Mothership Core cannot get sniped and shut down, but the counter-attack here could be very dangerous. That's a lot of units here for Shigwa. If he was to attack the third base here, I think he'd kill a lot.
He'll spot it. He'll spot it with the Warp Prism, which is very, very good here for him. Oh!
Yeah, usually you want to snipe the fourth base of the Zerg. I think Mana might just go across the map here no matter what, fully knowing that Shigwa is going to be coming back to try and defend against this Warp Prism. And with that Stargate behind this, it's funny actually, it's one single Stargate instead of like 2 or 3.
Yeah, I think he doesn't have full knowledge at all of that force moving over to the fourth base, which, yeah, it's all about the Warp Prism at the moment, but his entire army went to deal with that Warp Prism. That's a guaranteed kill on the fourth base.
Oh, he's going to try to get a Spire here, I think. Ooh, Shigwa needs to react quickly.
A few units there to be able to shut it down. Very important. The fourth base does fall, and now he can easily... Oh, you popped out in the wrong place, my friend. But now it's got to be a recall, because the entire army of Shigwa is mobilizing. It is moving down towards this bottom location to try and put on some counter-aggression.
Yeah, the Mutas went straight for the Warp Prism. That means that they're not getting rid of the Mothership Core and the units that were there. Mana recalls into the third base. Needs to bring back the Stalkers. Yeah, he's going to do fine here in that third base location, but I think the Mutas are going to be headed for the men. But look at this. Mana already knew about this, so he's getting Phoenixes and Stalkers there. The weak point right now is the natural, which is going to start reinforcing with some cannons.
The Zealot's out of position. Oof.
They're just going to use Overcharge here. Yep. Force Field's going to be important.
Mutalisk actually died there as well on that assault through to the natural, so small.
The Warp Prism was left across the map.
Is he still there?
Oh, the Warp Prism.
Oh my god.
Oh my god, you forgot to clean it.
Oh no, he didn't clean it with the Mutalisks. The Mutalisks have gone into the main base now and they've been greeted by Phoenix.
The sentries are getting surrounded, though Mana wasn't paying attention to his third base. He's going to start losing a lot very quickly.
This is hectic. There's so much going on at the same time here. Mana actually letting this slip at the third base. Maybe a bit of a detriment to him here, as he might take a big chunk of damage. Kills off the cannon up towards the top. The Stalkers are trying to blink back furiously against that. And actually Stalkers coming in from every side. They should be cleaning this up with the sacrifice of a Nexus. But in the end, he'll be able to kill off a lot of the units.
Yeah, he got that Nexus, but at what cost, Skylar? Losing a lot of units here. Shigwa, he dropped a lot of supply, but I guess being saturated on 3 bases behind it with the 4th base on the way is going to be okay. Those Phoenix is going to be kiting the Mutas here forever if they can. It's going to be really hard. The Phoenix count is not high enough that I think Mana can afford to do this consistently.
Yeah, this is really kind of a tough spot to be in now with that Nexus falling how it did. As he's going to be long distance mining at the moment. Shigwa is healthy in terms of his income, and
Mana has a lot of leftover in terms of army. It's 62 army supply to 67. Usually when you're this close, it's much better for the Protoss.
And it's all mutas. It's all mutas. So technically here at the moment they need to keep Mana back somehow, which looks like they might be able to, realistically, with the trajectory that Mana's army is currently taking.
Oh, the Mutas going across the map, they might find themselves trapped on this side of the map here. The Phoenixes are going to be kiting them endlessly, and if the Mutas try to pull back, the Stalkers can catch them in the middle of the map. Shigwa's trying to do as much damage as he can here.
Needs to definitely work these mutas down, though. That's a huge chunk of the Zerg army at the moment, and he's doing well with it.
Mana's doing so well with those Phoenixes here because of the Mutas acceleration. Oh, the sentries.
He needs to force field things. He needs to force field them right now. The Zerglings on top of all of the sentries. No real reinforcement at all. Also with the Mutalisk swinging back. they're going to be able to take down a big chunk of this army. Shigua at the moment is doing well. The force fields are keeping the roaches out, but you can only keep these Phoenix alive for so long while having to micro everything else.
And the thing is, it's very hard to micro both the Stalkers and the Phoenixes at the same time. So it's going to be very hard for Mana to manage this fight properly, but he's doing okay here right now with the Phoenixes. They're starting to take a lot of damage. There's a bunch of Hydra is reinforcing as well. Shigua is dealing with this.
Perfect. Perfectly done, being able to push that back. The Nexus is going to finish up towards the third base here for Mana, but he's taking so many losses at the moment. Blinks up, tries to get himself a few more Mutalisks.
Might have to recall. He can even just stay up that ramp here.
He's
Maybe time warp this army.
Okay, no, the Hydralists decide to turn back. That's still a lot of Stalkers, actually.
And Mana is all in, I think. He's just warping in as many Stalkers as he can right there. He's going to try to blink back everything. Except right now he's not far. Oh, it takes a long time.
That's
time warp.
Still a strong Zerg army here that he's got to deal with. This Mutalisk force is trying to push away the Warp Prism, and that Mothership Core is going to die with it only a time warp being used, and it really didn't get too many kills for itself.
Yeah, I don't think Mana has to play this aggressive. I'm not sure why he got so desperate here to move across the map and try and make something happen this fast. This is really was an overextension as well, especially since Shigua reacted so well to it. But Mana is really going for it here right now. He's committing a lot to this.
Just trying to trade off and make sure that these Stalkers can get free kills while keeping themselves alive. Once again, force fields from these sentries going to be warped in extra so that you can try and cut away at some of this army while pushing forwards. Can he get some Hydras? Looks like he can actually there.
Yeah. The trade should be good here for Mana, even though he doesn't have that much energy on his sentries because he's got +2 and there was only +1 car pace for Shigua, but he's getting +1 missile now. Mana is, I think he should just kind of go back a little bit, wait for the sentries to have more energy and then fight, because right now if he's fighting he won't necessarily have Guardian Shield or that many force fields.
Yeah, he's looking for critical mass Stalker right now by the looks of things, and with all of these being able to blink back against this might be quite good. He's trying to force field so that the Roaches are trapped at the front and the Hydralisks can't do anything from the back. They're slightly out of range, but this Roach counter-attack here from Shigua could do quite a bit. He's only going for buildings at the moment, though.
Yeah, he's trying to break through here to enter natural and try and get some probes, but Mana is just going to warp in defensively. He's pulling back with his main army right now, and Shigua is chasing him. He's trying to catch some of these sentries.
Doesn't have his Mothership Core there, can't retreat out there. He's going to have to just can fight, and all the sentries are going to be left completely exposed. Good pickup. Has to get out of there with the Warp Prism.
I think Shigua might just go for it here. He might be happy with the snipe that he got on all of the sentries. He's actually almost maxed out. Mana might be in a lot of trouble here. He's trying to pull back, but force fielding this army away is going to be almost impossible. Instead of just pulling back, he stayed on the map, and he might pay the price for it.
Immortal, he's going to have to pick that Immortal up with the Warp Prism if he wants to keep it alive. Almost does, but gets himself a sentry instead on the snag. And this Zerg army is just pushing forwards to do big, big damage at the moment. Very difficult to compete with just Blink Stalkers alone.
Yeah, it's very hard for Mana to move down that ramp. There is a lot of Roaches and Hydras just waiting down there. He's actually, his army is getting pushed around here. The natural Shigua still pretty close to maxing out here. He's remaking a lot of units all the time.
Probes are evacuating. This is it really. But Mana is going to have to try and hold on somehow on these multiple angles, but don't think it's going to be victorious at all here. With only these Stalkers, with the commitment that he'd been going for the past 10 minutes or so, wasn't successful. And at the moment, Shigua is killing off a lot of the economy.
He's doing pretty well with all of those links coming in here. Shigua's getting so many units. He's starting a hive as well.
He's in the driving seat, very much so in the driving seat. A few Zealots as a resistance here in the main base, but here come the Ling Flood once again. The probes have to combat the small force that we have in the main base, and that is looking very, very difficult here for Mana to clean up. He's down on a lot of workers, and this game just kind of went crazy awry. Yeah. Every single angle was being pressured.
I don't think Mana realized that Shigua was just on a very small saturation and only on 3 then 4 bases, because if he had known, he would have just pulled back, be happy to let his sentries regenerate a lot of energy for more force fields, more Guardian Shields, and then he would have done really well in the next fight, but definitely overextended here once again with too much fighting.
And now Mana thinks he's, still got some kind of a chance, I assume, or he's just trying to come to terms with this, because at the moment he is really down and out. He has very little income left available.
As long as you have a handful of Blink Stalkers, you should never leave a game, Lars.
There's always a dream there available to you, is there, Todd, as
yes,
the Protoss?
Absolutely.
Well, at the moment, Chigua's looking on point. He's got 70 workers. His income's going to be nice. He's got a lot of gas in the bank if he ever needs it. And
Zerg players have been Protossed with less than that.
Have been Protossed, yeah. I guess so, I guess so. So Mana's going to try. But against this Roach Hydra composition that we're seeing here from Shigua, That's a tall order.
Yeah, 58 army supply to 109. It's going to take a little bit of a miracle here for Mana to win this. As Shigwa is pretty happy right now with the situation, being saturated on multiple bases, whereas Mana is only mining from one, really.
Well, throws down the first force field as a harbinger of doom here for this Zerg army that's probably just going to chew him up. But we'll see as this army has already positioned itself.
Mutas flying in across the map to start taking down a bunch of probes.
A perfect way to seal the deal here for Shigwa.
Oh, the Prism almost got caught here by Hydrodiscs.
It's going to just drop a single Zealot in with a few more warping in, but the Hydrodiscs could even just focus down that Warp Prism and kill it off.
The Phoenixes actually are chasing on the Mutas by themselves. But I think Shigwa realized that Mana might not be looking at his army, so he tries to engage into him.
Yeah, and some of those archers do get caught at the front. He actually cleans up the majority of the Mutalisks through to the middle, and Mana is still going to try and look for these as even as possible trades.
He actually got a good probe count here. He could take another base, but Shigwa having Hive here, it's going to change everything. If he gets a bunch of Vipers, then you can't fight anymore. You can't do much. You can just pull back force fields. You're going to run out. You're going to run out of steam very quickly, and Mana tries and retake his natural there.
An ambitious move here.
The sentries need to make it away here. He's going to need the best force fields of his life here if he wants to have a chance.
Yeah, the armies are huge at the moment here for Shigwa. And he'll just be looking to barrel down on that very, very soon with these two Vipers in tow. Even if you wanted to abduct units here, I wouldn't mind. But it's going to be for the Blinding Clouds.
Setting up beautifully here, Shigwa. He wants to finish this, and he might be able to. Mana's not even expecting it. Sends the Zealots. He's going to see it. It's too late already. Holding position in Blinding Cloud. Not sure about this one.
Very difficult to deal with this. Force fields continue to rain on down, and that's going to be also the Blinding Clouds on top of it. And that will be GG for game number 2, as Shigwa is able to tie up the series.
Mana here, I like the idea early on, and then I think he was doing pretty good, but committing so much to the third base of the Zerg and trying to fight as much against a good Zerg like Shigwa, who's not going to miss an inject, who's going to be getting a lot of units out, and who loves to fight, this kind of played right into his hand. I really think that against a Zerg on lair, you don't have to commit this early. You can just pull back here as Mana, get a few more units, especially since he had just swapped in so many of the sentries that he got towards that attack, because he lost all of his original sentry count, so he had to replace them. I think if he had let those sentries build up a lot of energy for force fields and Guardian Shield, that's when the real abuse comes into play, Kylais.
All right, well, one final break here before we get into game number 3, as one of these players will be advancing on to the winners match between Mana and Shigwa. All right, welcome back to the World Championship Series as Mana and Shigwa battle it out here at the moment to find out who's going to be moving on to the winners match. And for Mana, you know, there's good showings in some of these games, but then there's these odd small overextensions that we're seeing at the moment. Just kind of wants to iron things out, play a little bit more confidently in himself, and take it a little bit slower.
Or maybe he was too confident. Maybe that's the problem, because like, some of these attacks, really, you have to wonder. Like, he sees the Zerg army and he thinks that he can take on it, but he couldn't really.
No.
Even with force fields, the struggle was there here for Mana in some of these fights. So he showed in the first two maps the same 3 gateways aggression. In map number 1, that was with his target. This is actually a pretty good map to do it on, but if he does it again, we've reached a point here where Shigua really will be anticipating this attack. So on Cactus Valley, you kind of know the pylon positions that Protoss goes for if they want to go into the 3 gateway aggression. If Amada goes for it once again, I do think that Shigua this time around will make sure he's prepared for it.
Let's get into it then. Game number 3 here for the World Championship Series, series number 2 here in our next group. Of course, as we do have spawning down to the bottom right-hand corner, it is our blue Protoss representing Team Liquid. It is Mana. And then up to the top right-hand corner, we do have our red Zerg representing Invictus Gaming. It is Shigua.
Mana going to be going for the pylon of the ramp here. Maybe a little bit paranoid that there could be some kind of Zergling rush in the final map of a series. It's funny because everybody always felt like it was the least likely map that you would try something crazy on, but somehow, after all these years of StarCraft, we've seen it so many times. A player in the final game of a series, be it a best of 3 or a best of 5, trying something very aggressive. So Mana, here he might just want to open very safe with a gateway up the ramp, maybe even take a gas. We'll see when he scouts as well. That's going to come into play very importantly on a map like this. And Shigua once again with the very same scout as in both of the previous games with the drone early on.
Yeah, making sure he keeps good eyes on him, good tabs. And already that probe did actually spot this, technically moving on. So if you were a Protoss in that position and you see the drone coming down from that spot that early, wouldn't you redirect your probe? Or
I'm not sure if he properly saw it coming from the right-hand side. Maybe he was looking elsewhere. Like usually if you see it coming from the right-hand side, clearly, like you'll know that the Zerg is there. That's a bit weird by Mana that he didn't really pick up on this, and he's just going to be heading on the left-hand side. No gas, though. If Shigua wanted to block here, he could have blocked this a lot, and actually he's going to move back in that position before the Nexus goes down. And could delay it for quite a bit. Not going to quite proxy Hatcho.
Yeah, being no second probe there to actually deny that as quicker, but at the same time he manages to sneak it on down, so well done there by Mana. Even the pylon goes down, this drone has got no chance. He is just going to have to dart on back and forth.
He fell at his job, man.
Yeah.
Can't go home anymore.
Not doing anything. Tries to steal, but you're not
gonna quite get it. Actually, if you steal after delaying a Nexus, like I mentioned before, it's really good because then Protoss, the Nexus on the natural is so late, and taking one of the gases at the natural is going to take forever.
Yeah. All right, and this probe comes up on in and has a look around, sees no gases being taken off the back of that hatchery, and the spawning pool going down.
And usually you're pretty happy, I think, when you see this, because you know that you're perfectly safe. You can even skip on the Zealot if you want to. But Mana's still going to start it, so this is a huge hint that he might want to play aggressive like he did in the 2 previous maps.
Looking for a third base again, no doubt. I mean, from game number 1 to game number 2, we saw that trend kick in. You know, he really wanted to put power on towards that third base, I should say. So maybe he might try something like that. I mean, there are still places on this map where pylons can be pretty annoying to deal with here for Zerg. It's such a big map. Trying to scout every location can be difficult.
Yeah, absolutely. Mana is going to want to make sure that he knows what's up, spots that third hatchery. Should be happy to just head on home, I think, from there. Maybe try to keep his probe alive. Usually trying to keep it out on the map and hide it is... You can try that, but successfully pulling it off is going to be a little bit unrealistic. In this case, he did go once again for the Mothership Core and Stalkers. Yeah, so actually, since there is no speed, Mana doesn't need to hide his probe. He can just keep on running around forever. This link is never going to catch it, and then he can proxy a pylon once his units are nearby. But he needs to wait for that sentry to start before he leaves his base, because otherwise the links can get in and they can be very annoying.
Yeah, that's why all the other Zerglings coming back to clean up that probe are actually kind of important.
Ooh, I think Shigua realized what's happening. If he was to try and get the lockdown on this probe and sniped it, it'd be huge, because he would slow down the aggression of Mana a lot, especially if he doesn't send a second probe towards the base of Shigua here.
Trying to clear out the watchtower here to start things off. This probe is still giving them the run around. Important to note that with only one Ling trailing it, the probe will regain shields before you can actually do proper damage to it. So
No Stargate, it seems like. I thought Mana might go for it because he had a lot of gas there, but just going to be starting an additional sentry.
all right, well, into Mana's first-person view here to see exactly how he's going to be able to handle this, as he's putting on the pressure at the moment, dealing nicely with the aggression towards the front, and already putting on some damage towards that queen.
Only targeting the queen here is usually a mistake because it's pretty easy for Zerg to pull the drones around it and make sure that that doesn't get killed. But Mana has been microing this perfectly here.
We saw him gear up for a pylon up towards the third base, gets himself both of these queens even. That would be great for him, but at the same time saves himself the mothership core, trying to get it out of range of the other queen, and it doesn't manage to survive.
Yeah, and that pylon's about to finish here, but Mana, he's just got warp gate now. Shigwa might be able to get his pylon before the warping is complete, and there is no backup pylon.
Ah, not going to go for it now. Mana with the forge behind all of this.
There is no backup psionic generator, Kaila's.
No, not at all. Not at all. So,
He starts a third Nexus. And Shigwa's got speed now. He set it across the map with quite a few links, but having as many sentries as he does, I think Mana's in an okay position.
Is getting the 2 queens for that kind of trade worth it here, Todd, or is it something that he needed to be doing more?
It's not great, but the thing is that Mana forced so many links that Shigwa, walker-wise, is doing pretty bad. He's on 39 drones against 37 probes. So right now, if Shigwa doesn't do any damage with these units or even loses them, he's going to be in lots of trouble. And Mana being able to start the third base with these few units against this many links, that's a big mistake here by Shigwa, not spotting that third Nexus. I can't believe, actually, that happened. This is really bad, I think, for Shigwa.
All the links at the moment aren't really posturing to actually go to that location. They're going to try and check out this pocket location, maybe down towards the bottom. And, well, obviously they don't see anything there. Maybe trying to put on some aggression, but still not really moving towards that third base location. You're right.
Wow, he spots it now with the Overlord, and Shigwa's probably thinking, oh my god, I could have headed there, I could have done so much damage, even maybe got a cancel, but now I let him get away with this.
Yeah.
I'm in trouble. I should maybe drone up really hard, is probably what he's thinking. And right now it's 53 drones to 44 probes. Mana, with the 3 additional gateways that he's going to have, he's going to start building up his army count very nicely. Drops down a Twilight Council next to his forge. That's the way to do it, man. You can chrono boost both very quickly when you do that.
That's a lot of lings in production here, though, from Shigwa. 20 extra to complement what he already has out on the field. Is he looking to still put pressure on regardless?
Ventral Sacks?
Is it a misclick?
Well,
That's what I always ask.
That happened last game. That happened last game, and it was a misclick back then. In this one, I think it should be. Yeah, maybe it's not. I think maybe he realized that fighting sentries on the ground with Zerglings is going to be too hard. But usually when you go for a drop like this, you get a Baneling Nest.
Yeah, you do. You're right.
You do Baneling drops. He starts 1-1. No, it's not. Oh, I played against this. I played Ayasunu on ladder, I think yesterday or before yesterday, and he did this. He made Massling like this. And even though I was on a lot of gateways and I had a lot of sentries, I lost. Because he just busted the wall at my natural. Which, to be honest, shouldn't be possible against a good Protoss when you have this many sentries and you get enough units. But this amount of links, it's really hard to read into this properly as well. Because, like, first of all, scouting these links in the middle of the map is going to be almost impossible. Like, Shigwa's going to make sure that they stay out of those hallucinated units' range.
Yeah.
The Phoenix did spot a bunch of links running around, but the drop in the main is going to be the big deal. Like, if Shigwa was only attacking on the ground with this many links, then force fields will massacre him completely. But the fact that he's going to be dropping links in the main is really what's going to make this super strong.
So where is the read? I mean, how does he find this out? I mean, he hasn't seen all the overlords mobilizing with a hallucinated Phoenix. Which
I think Mana knows that something's up, but I don't think he quite realizes what exactly right now.
It's moving towards the middle here. If he could spot these lings, maybe. He sees a lot of them, but where are they going at the moment? He sees huge amounts of lings. He's got to be very, very worried about that. It's very uncommon you see that much.
I think Mana might be thinking this is going to be links into Ultras.
Oh, my.
Which is not. Oh, he's moving towards the main. Even though he didn't spot... Oh, he saw the links headed towards there. He's going to scout for it. Mana. He smelled this coming, even though he didn't see the overlords. I think he realized.
Still a lot of lings heading into the main here. This is a big, big drop coming out of Shigwa, as there's going to be quite a bit of damage done already, and the units are going to start warping in. The lings are already going to get dropped on down. Maybe if he could actually do some damage before they all dropped in, that would be good. But at the moment, they're all being dropped across this.
Oh, he should have made hallucinated Archons, would have been better. But the fact that the Zerglings have +1 carapace here, they're not going to die in 2 hits from Zealots. But so far, the Protoss army was so big that it's still doing quite all right here, especially with those force fields in the third base, though.
Yeah, the force
Mana needs to warp in there.
The force fields were able to shut that down quite well, and at the same time completing the wall off here at the third base didn't allow anything to actually hit him in the mineral line, and he's been able to fend this off. A great defense from Mana.
It's what I thought. this doesn't work against the real Protoss. Only against washed up commentators.
Sorry, buddy. Sorry. Well, that's going to be the kind of fallback plan here for Sheik, whereas +2 on the way. Going for it again by the looks of things. But now his hand's been revealed here, Todd.
Yeah, I mean, Protoss being ahead in supply here really tells the story. Mana, I don't even think he can overextend here. The fact that there is no Banelings makes this so much quicker than otherwise.
He's chasing those Overlords, and now they're all trying to kind of filter out here a little bit. But as he's dropping the Zerglings out, they're dying instantly. Yeah, this is like just kind of, please don't chase my Overlords, I'll give you these, and then I'll try and go somewhere else. He's got hardly anything left here.
Shigwa in a world of trouble here is going to be suiciding a lot of units. Mana's about to move across the map. He can just, I guess, warp in a bunch of Zealots at home, be okay, and keep on attacking Shigwa. Archons are going to come into the mix.
These Zerglings are just trying to buy time, but I think Mana's had enough of it. He knows that he doesn't need to try and go home and deal with this. He's going to get himself the Templar Archives, but those Archons at the front with that Zealots and so many sentries left over here for Force Field are going to be able to run amok in this location against just Zerglings alone.
Shigwa's trying to get a bunch of roaches here to help and defend against this, but there's just so many sentries that Force Fields are going to be massive.
Cuts them off. Completely dams them off, doesn't allow the flood of Zerglings to move on through, and even when they do, they go up against Archons. GG, game number 3 goes to Mana, but quite the exciting game there from both sides after everything was said and done.
Definitely a pretty cool series here from both players. We will be heading into a Team Liquid's team kill here once again, and in this group they've really delivered here. TLO had a fantastic performance against Violet, and now Mana really identifies what he's up against. I don't think he saw the Overlords move in that position. He only saw a whole lot of links headed towards that direction. He saw that his opponent was on Lair. He said, wait a second, I know what's going on. You're about to do something very cheeky that you think I don't expect. But then he realized what was happening, went there, defended, and won the game.
That's first world problems right there for Team Liquid. Our players are so good, we meet in winners matches and then we have to kill each other off. So that will be our next fixture, obviously, here, as Mana is able to solidify himself that 2-1 win against Shigwa. Of course, he will be going down into the elimination match to face off against Violet in a ZVZ. But for now, we can head over to the analysis desk to see what Mana has to say about that one.
Thank you very much, Kalaris. Joined here by Mana. You go up to the winners match and you will go against your teammate TLO in a little bit. We'll talk about that. But coming into today, how are you feeling? Were you very well prepared, excited?
Well, I gotta say I'm super excited to be in here. You know, this is the last group. I'm the last Polish player left, and we're going to Poland for the next rounds. So if I'm not going to make it, I don't know what I'm going to do with myself. So I'm doing everything I could to pass this group, and I think I'm extremely well prepared.
Yeah, we talked about that a lot already. That was obviously the number one thing coming into today's group is that you are that player. And your teammates have had that type of pressure in many different ways before, whether it is to play at BlizzCon or, you know, to win a WCS. But this is your own type of pressure. But this seems to be motivating you the way that you're speaking about it now.
Yeah. Of course, it's a motivation. You know, Heart of the Swarm wasn't that much of a fun lately because I was losing a lot. But then I saw this huge advertisement that we are going to Poland. You said it yourself, and I got like chills all over my body. I was shaking. I was super excited about it. I don't know. I was extremely happy that it's going to be held in Poland, and I said to myself that this is probably going to be my last Heart of the Swarm tournament, and a big tournament in Heart of the Swarm, and so I want to end it very well, and it's going to be in Poland as well, so I want to do everything I can to be there.
Okay, well, best of luck on that journey. We will see you compete for that in a little bit here. But I wanted to jump into a replay of that last game that you just played, map number 3.
Yeah.
And where we are right now is you're trying to figure out what the hell's been going on. You've got hallucinating phoenixes everywhere. You're not too sure what's going on. Pig, take it from here.
All right, so I mean, at this point, did you notice this huge flood of Zerglings?
No, I did not. I did not see these links, but I saw one Overlord that you can see with my observer, one speed Overlord, so I knew the drops are coming.
Of course, as soon as you realized that, did you think it was Banelings, Roaches, Hydras? Did you have any idea it was mass Ling?
I think it's going to be Link Roach, like max 200 Zerglings to drop on top of my army, but then I see only Links. I'm like, well, welcome, please, come. Drop me, sure, no problem whatsoever. And luckily, my +2 attack kicked in, well, maybe like in the middle of the fight, but that was still kind of good for me. And I was very happy that he kept on dropping on top of my army. My force fields were quite nice as well. He couldn't do any damage here.
Because your units were so clumped up, right, the Zerglings just couldn't get in there. So if your units were spread out a little bit, then the Zerglings maybe would rip them apart, right?
Yeah, especially. Also, I was a little bit worried that he could run some of his Zerglings to the natural, because I had my wall open for like 10 or 5 seconds when I was walking with my entire army. But yeah, he went only to the third base, and I had a good wall there, so he couldn't do anything with this army.
A nice, confident way to finish it up, of course. That's enough about the replay, but I did want to ask you as well. You're in a group with 3 Zergs, and I think in ZVP it's a matchup which does rely a lot on builds and having kind of secrets. And if people know how you're going to play, it's very difficult. So do you feel that's an extra challenge?
I'm the only Protest here, though, so I think the others are going to focus much more on ZVZ rather than ZVP, because it's only one match they can play. And I have a lot of builds prepared, so that's not like I showed anything in here, so I have everything prepared for next matches. Doesn't matter if it's TLO or Violet.
All right, fantastic. But we won't ask you too many more questions, as you do have another winners match to prepare for.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mana, for joining us up here. Best of luck against your teammate in the winners match. Mana goes through to that winners match, and he'll be competing in the 4th match of the evening. But for us, it's time to go down to the lower bracket to see which player, sadly, is going to be eliminated, the first player from Group H today.